And keep it going for Genevieve Franklin.
Do you remember the full moon this month? Wasn't it amazing? It was awesome. It was huge. My husband and I shared many beautiful full moons. It was one of our favorite bonds. But by the time I met him, he hadn't been able to see a full moon for 10 years due to the consequences of a lifetime, since he was little, of chronic illness. It was difficult, Don shared with me, to make the decision, having been sighted, whether to keep the memories of his vision or to let them go. It was going to be too hard to let them go, but remembering what he lost was also very difficult. At any rate, he chose to keep them whenever possible. And so in our life, we decided to be very natural. I would say, Don, come see this, and proceed to describe what I wanted him to see. Or I'd say, look here, Don, and put maybe a wonderful misshapen squash into his hands so he could feel it, or some beautiful item made of porcelain so he could feel that. Anything that was wonderfully tactile connected us. But so were we connected by the things that were far away. So when there was a full moon, we would try to go outside and be bathed in the moonlight. And he would sometimes say, wait, let me see. Is it over there? And I'd say, no, actually, that's a street light, but the moon is so bright tonight. It's even brighter than the street light. And I'd take his hand and I'd say, it's actually over there. And he'd say, ah. Now, I was very cautious about deepening our relationship when I first met him because I thought he had had so much of a loss that I wasn't going to take it lightly. If I was going to step into this, then I was in for the duration. And I was. When I once was in his apartment, still debating the issue about whether he was the companion that was right for me and I for him, I excused myself to go to the bathroom, and on his window ledge, in this classic San Francisco train-style flat, which had a small window that led down into you could look out and go down to the floor below 3 stories below. It was the serviceman's entrance. So I saw that there was a tiny little ceramic pot that had a lid that was the most amazing clay sculptured moon face that I'd ever seen. It was no bigger than a dime. I looked at it and said, anybody who has an item such as this on his window ledge is really, really special. So I walked out and I said, Don, it's you and me and Mr. Moon from now until forever, until the end of time. We were together often enough at that point that although we kept our apartments, we decided we'd bring my 2 cats into his apartment, and they would chase each other up and down the hall. One was a demure, very polite little girl, and the other one was hell on paws. He was full of the dickens. One day, I heard him in the bathroom, and he had climbed onto the sink, and I rushed into the bathroom. Too late. He had batted Mr. Moon out that 2-inch opening, and out he went. It was night. I was chagrined, confessed to Don Mishi's sins, and Don was really, really, really upset. If he had been able to catch him, I'm sure he would have throttled him. That was to Mishi's advantage. However, I said, Don, don't worry, I'm going to really, really try tomorrow as soon as daylight comes, and I will go look for him. So next day, I went down among the gunk. Those of you who have lived in San Francisco and know service entrances know what gunk is. And I looked everywhere. I didn't find him. I was ready to give up, and then I saw the unvarnished side of the top of the little pot. It was a pot with a little lid, and it was Mr. Moon. He had flown down 3 stories and landed on the concrete with nary a scratch on its nose. I went upstairs excitedly, told Don, but I realized he was still a little sad because he liked the pot part too, you know. That's where he put his dreams and his wishes and his hopes in this teeny tiny little container with a wonderful moon-faced top. So I said, I'm going to look. And I went to the living room and looked out the window. Across the separation between our buildings, we were on the 3rd floor, and the building next to us was a 2-story building with a flat roof, and I saw something. I ran downstairs, went into the beauty shop, said to the Chinese-speaking women who didn't understand me, "Excuse me, I'm on a mission," ran upstairs, and there, a full 20 feet away from the window I had spotted it from, was the pot, unscathed. Then was when I knew it's you and me and Mr. Moon until the end of time. We shared many full moons together, but every beginning has an ending. One day, in comfort care, after 2 sleepless nights and the previous night where I had gotten enough sleep to let me wake up with some hope, I drew open the picture window in the hospital room, and there, at 8 in the morning, in full daylight, was the gossamer orb of Mr. Moon. He was saying, "Beginnings have endings, but all endings have beginnings. I will be with you whenever and wherever you are." 12 hours later, 4 years ago tomorrow, Don breathed his last. But before that, I kissed his face, I kissed his chin, I kissed his forehead, his eyes, his mouth, and I said, "It's you and me and Mr. Moon beyond the end of time."